Welcome on in my Ashwings to something I don't know that I expected to see just today, but it definitely left me in suspense when I was waiting for the announcement. And lo and behold, we got an entire set announcement on the 1st of July with Super Slam, the next set for Flesh and Blood. Now, I'm going to be entirely honest. This is probably the most Hearthstone set I've ever seen released for Flesh and Blood. So it's very interesting. I think it might just be the colors and the overall theme of it, but effectively, Super Slam, go watch the trailer if you haven't already. But we are returning back to the deathmatch arena for a little bit more of a deeper brawl and a new way to play these heroes, new mechanics, and also notably new heroes entirely. So let's go ahead and take a quick look at Super Slam, what it is, what it's about, what's going on, and kind of go over that. So before we get into the actual page here for Super Slam, let's go ahead and get into the spoilers that were released for the cards that came through. Kind of talk a little bit about what we're looking at for this set. There are 4 new heroes in the set. One of them being Lyeth Goldmane, the Vile Savant. This is a reviled Guardian hero. So now there is another talent, because I'm only assuming this is not going to be a class, but this is a new talent called Reviled. Effectively just, people don't like this guy, right? Lyeth Goldmane, actually notably a dwarf in the set. I didn't expect there to be a dwarf, but I guess this is kind of cool to see that Lyeth of the Goldmane name. This is just the kind of more hated younger brother of Victor Goldmane, or the older brother, I guess, depending. Not too sure. But effectively, a new Guardian here. But this is what really gets me going here. 5 intellect. The very first 5 intellect hero, which is insane to me because I never would have expected to see a 5 intellect hero. We all know how good having card advantage is, and having 5 cards in your hand is going to be just insane. But notably, there is a downfall to being this hero of Lyeth Goldmane, in which the base power and toughness of cards you control are halved, rounded up. So if you have a CNC, right, that is a 6 power attack, 3 block card that costs 2 resources. Instead, CNC will instead come in for 3 and only block for 2. So much worse, right, comparatively. Obviously, a huge downside to this hero. But you can pay 2 resources, tap them, and then the crowd boos you. So there is this big kind of thing around booing and cheering on your favorite champion in the arena. And in this situation, you're going to tap Lyeth, and then the crowd boos you. And then the defending action cards you control get +1 defense this turn. So any action cards you might have that block for 3 instead block for 4. But notably, you do get the base here, right? So if it was to block for 3, it instead blocks for 2. And then if you've been booed, it blocks for 3 again. So paying a whole 2 resources for that seems a little weird. I'm not too sure how I feel entirely about it. I feel like this might be a very weapon-centric hero, but it is going to be very interesting to see kind of what they have up their sleeves. I mean, with 5 intellect, obviously something is bound to happen. Some card advantage situation is bound to go through. That's really going to change the way that this hero plays. But whenever the crowd boos you, based on your effect here, then you will create a might token. So oddly enough, with that might token, you're kind of adding a defense value and an offense value based on if you've been booed, which is, it's weird how it's going to, filter over, but obviously Guardians have access to a lot of these very powerful, if attack is greater than its base, you get X thing. The difference here is that your base is going to be halved. So I guess theoretically, it's greater than its base is going to be 3. For instance, you send in a thump for 6, right? If the thump for 6 then gets bumped down to 3, and the might token bumps up to 4, then theoretically, based on that my knowledge of the rules, that would still activate Thump's ability to give it dominate and have it on hit discard a card. So very important in that front. It seems like the damage potential is probably going to be a little bit less, but I would also probably expect a lot of this hero to do a lot of kind of, well, cheating, kind of like, you know, making sure that things are unblockable or something of the sort. You know, because maybe he's small, or just because of his you know, his status in the arena. So Lyeth Goldmane, very cool to see. We have a new Guardian, a Reviled Guardian. Next up here is a hero that we're actually going to get an Armory deck here for, which we'll go over, which is Pleiades Superstar. So notably, you'd think this would be a Bard. No, that is a Guardian. That is a Revered Guardian. So Revered is like the good guys, right? The Revered and Reviled, those are both that's the kind of duality of the set. Is there's good and then there's kind of awful. Pleiades Superstar, though, is a 4 intellect, 40 health Guardian. At instant speed, you can tap her to remove a suspense counter from an aura you control, and you may put a suspense counter on an aura of suspense you control. So this is going to be very aura specific as far as a Guardian goes. And I do wonder whether or not it is a the suspense counters, for instance, are kind of meant to be like they stick around longer than just the one part of your turn. So we're curious to see what that's going to be like. But then whenever the crowd cheers you on, you create a confidence token. Now, notably, her effect does not cheer you, but we also don't know what a confidence token is. So very curious to see what that's going to be all about whenever we learn more in regards to Pleiades. But normally, I mean, her stats seem pretty regular. I think the only thing is she's got the newest of things outside of the booming and cheering with the suspense counters on auras. Then we move into our next and last reviled hero, which is actually KO. Turns out people don't really like KO. And maybe it's just because he's a brute. Maybe because he's actually a piece of garbage who like will kill anything in his path for no reason whatsoever. KO is now considered a reviled brute hero. And so in this situation, they have 4 intellect, 40 health. They still only start the game with 1 weapon zone. I'm also curious whether or not they're going to give this KO Mandible Claws as a signature weapon, just because if old KO leaves, what does new KO run? You start the game with 1 weapon zone, and at instant speed, you can pay 4 resources and then tap KO to have target attack action card you control have base 6 power. What this does is this effectively means that you can turn any of the cards that you're blocking with or attacking with into a base of 6. So if you swing something like a Vipox, for instance, which only ever comes in for 1 and it's a generic card, you can pay 4 resources to then make it come in for 6 and have the additional on hit. So it seems like it's going to be very blue heavy, or even like yellow heavy in that regard. But notably, whenever the crowd boos you, you create a vigor token. So there's no way for on the ability of the hero to be booed, but if you are booed, you do get a vigor token. So you want to be booed, because anytime you boo or you get booed, you're going to be getting a free resource at the beginning of your turn. And that's whenever the crowd boos you, which means that if you play 2 cards during your turn that has you get booed, you will, in fact, create 2 vigor tokens, which is pretty good. Then notably, we'll move on to another just complete opposite of what we see here, which is Tough Nut Bumbling Hulkster. I think this is the most jovial we've seen a brute ever, but this is the revered brute hero of Tough Nut Bumbling Hulkster. So they only have 3 intellect, which means they are only able to draw up to 3 cards each turn. They have 40 life, and at instant speed, they can tap themselves to pitch the top card of their deck. And if it is a 6 or more power, the crowd cheers you. And anytime you are cheered, you create a toughness token. Again, that's another token we don't know anything about, I'm assuming it's going to be something along the lines of protections, or maybe even allows your attack actions to block for one more, or your equipment to block for one more. Um, However that ends up working out. But Tough Nut only having 3 intellect here means that they're probably going to be pretty strong. Normally, whenever there's a nerf to a hero, it's because there is a benefit to playing them. Notably, I would also significantly check out the fact that this is a hero that allows you to play Rock. Rock is a card that was brought out in Dynasty. It's incredibly hard for you to play. Nobody was ever able to play it. And now Tough Nut is the only hero that at instant speed can pitch the top card of their deck. And then if it has enough resources, which I think is 3, you can then swing Rock. It comes in for 7 overpower. Very cool stuff. And obviously you get the toughness token as well, which we're going to learn more about later too. Then we'll move on to some cards that came in here too. We do have a couple cards that did get announced alongside with this that we'll see in this article here too. But Bully Tactics is a reviled action attack, comes in for 3, blocks for 3. So with Lyeth's ability, this will actually come in for 2 and then block for 2. But when this attacks a hero, you may pay up to 3 resources and intimidate them that many times. So if you pitch a blue, you can intimidate your opponent 3 times with this card, which is insane to do because, granted, you can use this in KO or in Lyeth. So very cool to see. Mocking Blow, another reviled action. This costs 0, comes in for 1, blocks for 3. When this attacks a hero, if you have more life than the opponent, the hero you're attacking, the crowd boos you. And then if you've been booed this turn, this gets +4. So you want to have less life than your opponent, kind of like in a scar for scar situation. You get booed. Not only do you get booed, but you get +4 on this ability here, but you also get the ability, for instance, if you're playing KO, you get a Vigor token on top of it too, which is really awesome. So, and notably, KO's ability, if you happen to have 2 resources or 4 resources to be able to pitch, you can utilize KO's ability when this gets activated onto the chain link. You can then turn this 1 into a 6, and it will still get the +4 off of this ability, which means it'll come in for 10. So it's a 3-card 10. That's pretty good. 3-card 10. A 3-card 10, and you get a Vigor token. And this is a rare card. Kind of cool. Next up, we have some of the revered actions here. We have Crowd Goes Wild and Comeback Kid. Crowd Goes Wild, you pay 3 resources, comes in for 6, blocks for 3. A yellow 6. Brutes, we're loving it. If you played, but obviously only Tough Nut gets to use this one. If you've been cheered this turn, this costs 3 less to play. So if you've been cheered at all, you can swing this for free. A 1-card 6, which is just kind of huge, actually. So love to see that. I think that's going to be pretty cool. Obviously, if you've been cheered, you get a benefit. And that's what you like to see, is that kind of benefit, obviously, from a Majestic here. Comeback Kid is a 3 cost that comes in for 7, blocks for 3. When this attacks a hero, if you have less life than them, the crowd will cheer you. And if you've been cheered this turn, this gets +1. So it doesn't seem as powerful as another, as the other stuff from Reviled. But notably, Tough Nut gets to pitch from the top of his deck. So if he pitches a blue, this is still free, essentially, because you just pitch the top card of your deck. And then if you have less life than them, the crowd cheers you. You get a toughness token from being Tough Nut. And then if you cheered this turn, which it would have done so if you had less life, then you get a +1 on it. So it's a 1-card. I mean, it's 2 cards because you do have to pitch for this, but it is a 2-card 8, which is on rate. It's what we like to see. But you do have to be less life than your opponent. So it's a little bit more of that life parity thing. Then notably, we have these here. So these are charms that are coming out for these heroes, kind of like showcasing them as this like wrestling style hero. And so each one has their own. Notably, they are not specializations, but they are only able to be played in their own very specific ways. So maybe in the future, this Tough Nut one won't be able, or could be played in a different Revered Brute, but this is the only one you're able to play it in right now. So the Numbskull Charm costs 0. It's yellow, so you can pitch it. Choose any number. You can destroy Confidence or a Might token. The crowd cheers you, and you can pitch the top card of your deck. If it has 6 or more power, create a Vigor token. And so this notably is a super rare. They brought back super rares for this set, which is kind of interesting. I'm wondering if they're doing it to kind of make it a little bit more thematic with these heroes at a super rare level. So it's kind of easier to find some of these cards, but I'm sure the power is going to still be in those majestic and legendaries of the set. But you essentially get to choose any number of these here, which is awesome because that just means you can do all of them if you really need to. Or you can just do the 2 that make sense for you. You can cheer on the crowd, or you can pitch the top card of your deck. And if it's a 6 or more, you create a Vigor token. Not terrible. The Thespian Charm, this is 0 cost yellow. They're all 0 cost yellow instants. Choose any number, destroy a Might or Vigor. The crowd cheers you, or you return an aura permanent you control to its owner's hand. So kind of things like we already see in Acilio and did in Aurora. The Liar's Charm, which is choose any number, steal a Toughness or Vigor token. The crowd boos you, and target hero loses and can't gain abilities of this action phase unless they discard a card. Notably, pretty good, because there are a lot of heroes that care a lot about their abilities, and for you to just play a card and say, you lose all those things, that's pretty crazy. Notably, though, it does also turn off because it's target hero. You can choose your own hero. Lyeth's ability does say that the attack and defense of your cards is halved and then rounded up. So you could theoretically do the same thing for yourself and not need to discard a card. You'll have 5 cards in hand. You can then go about swinging a whole bunch of stuff at a really, really high rate with those 5 cards if you happen to have this in Arsenal, for instance. And then Cheater's Charm for KO, it's steal a Confidence or Toughness token. The crowd boos you. Or if you control an attack with 6 or more power, deal 2 damage to target hero unless they discard a card. That's also very, very powerful because it's effectively like, okay, cool, give me a card or take 2 damage. And when it comes down to the end game there, this is going to be really, really important because it's effectively discard a card, make it happen. Now, notably, there are cards that gain life for the hero whenever they're discarded. So we might see more of those. But I think this is kind of cool to have like specializations on here too. So pretty neat. And then notably, we'll take a look here at some of the stuff. This is the package here that you get for the World Tour. So you get this here. You can choose the Fabled event voucher, silver or bronze, all these event vouchers. You get the Tough Nut playmat here. And then you either get a Reviled pack, which comes with a Cold Foil Bully Tactics and 3 Rainbow Foil Mocking Blow, or you get a Revered pack, which comes with the Crowd Goes Wild or 3 Comeback Kid. Then, of course, there are promo packs at random that are given out. I believe these are probably for pre-releases. Maybe, actually, probably not, but they're more so for other things here too. Or Battle Hardened promos, it seems. So Reviled, you get 3 Reviled in Rainbow Foil, 1 red, 1 yellow, and 1 blue. And 3 Revered in Rainbow Foil, which is the red, the yellow, and the blue. Notably, these are new cards also. So if we wanted to take a look here, the Bask in Your Own Greatness card, it costs 0, comes in for 4, blocks for 2. It's a Reviled action. It says when this attacks, you may pay up to 3 resources and create that many Might tokens. So you can swing this, pitch a blue, create 3 Might, and still have it come in for a breakpoint. Pretty cool. Then Dig In also is when this defends, you may pay up to 3 resources, create that many Toughness tokens. So I'm assuming Toughness tokens are probably going to be, they get destroyed at the beginning of your opponent's action phase or something. And until the end of the turn, your action cards, your attack actions block for X amount more or something of the sort. It seems that the Revered individuals are a lot more about gaining resources and defending, whereas the Reviled are about attacking and presenting these very, very powerful on hits and cheating their way into their damage. So that is the reviled and revered. And then there is the more stuff here for, I believe this is, I don't actually know what this is for, but it comes with any of these here. I think this might be a world tour or the world premiere stuff here, which is actually you can get any one of these Super Slam art cards, which is like these in the middle here. So you get a Super Slam art card, and then you can get one Marvel charm at random. So a Cheater's Charm, a Liar's Charm, a Thespian Charm, or a Numbskull Charm, all of them being in cold foil. So pretty cool stuff there. Then let's take a look at the actual breakdown of the set itself, kind of talk about some more things that we kind of see as we go into its limited, and just really just chat about it. I just love talking about this stuff with y'all. So obviously, I'll leave the description there, leave the link to this in the description below so you guys can all see it too. But key dates is card preview starts September 2nd through the 5th. World premiere is September 12th. And then Calling Montreal is September 13th and 14th during the same event. Pre-release is the week after at September 19th through the 28th. Armory Deck Pleiades is on the 19th, so it's on pre-release day. So much like with Gravy Bones, you did have the Pleiades pre-release for the Armory Deck, and the Super Slam release date is the 26th of September, but it's the 19th for Japanese product. So whether a good-natured underdog or superstar bursting with confidence, revered heroes are adored by all. They fight tough but fair, building an aura of suspense, keeping the audience on the edge of their seats until they make the ultimate comeback. So that is kind of the concept behind these revered heroes, is they like to be a little bit more defensive, keep people on their toes, and then eventually come in with a really powerful, setup turn here. The crowd boos. When a dirty cheater or a bully with a big mouth whether a dirty cheater or a bully with a big mouth, reviled heroes will do anything to rile you up. They lie, cheat, and even steal their way into victory, breaking the rules while intimidating both their foes and the audience alike. So these individuals are a lot more about trying to kind of cheat out different ways to make strong attacks that maybe your opponent is not prepared to block with. So pretty cool to see. Super surprise, of course, this is the interesting thing here, is coming out of retirement for one night only, super rares. So only for this set are super rares going to be coming back. Now, obviously, they can bring them back during any set, but we are seeing super rares come back. The last time we saw super rares was actually back in Arcane Rising. That was the last time they printed a super rare. They actually turned a lot of those super rares into Majestics in the history pack that came out. So kind of interesting to see them back here, but with 40 different super rare signature moves to bring into the ring, Super Slam is packed full of exciting and explosive gameplay options for sealed deck and booster draft. So there are 40 different super rare signature moves. I'm assuming that's 10 each. That way, each hero can kind of find some special stuff for them whenever they're going through their limited environment here. So get in the ring. This is, of course, the ways you can go about playing here. This is the World Tour information for Montreal for the world premiere. So certainly go ahead if you are going to Montreal for this world premiere. Go check it out. Going to be a lot of fun. Then, of course, we do have the world premiere promos, which is what we talked about here. The premium package, which again we talked about. The calling promos, which are these rainbow foil versions of the heroes. And then the battle hardened promos, which are these reviled and revered stuff. Notably here, though, we do have pre-release kits. I think this is probably, at least personally, I think one of my favorite things about this is that with this pre-release kit, events will be running more than 1,600 local game stores across the world. And entering the ring for the first time weighing 11 ounces, we are thrilled to announce the new pre-release kit box. Play at an in-store pre-release event or purchase a kit and play with your friends and family in the comfort of your own home. This is something I actually missed from Magic, believe it or not. The pre-release kit was such a fun thing, especially back when I was playing in like the Ravnica stuff. You got this pre-release kit, you popped it open, and it had all these little rule books about like the different ways you could build the decks. It came with like dice and tokens and counters, and it allowed you to kind of like explore a little bit about be a little bit more prepared, I guess, for your pre-release. And to have it be in a kit like this is really nice because you're going to be able to actually get, at least I hope, you're able to get a lot more things, such as like, here's how you build X hero if you wanted to go about trying them in the meta. Like, here are cards you should look for in your pre-release kit should you want to build that hero. So pretty cool stuff. I like seeing a pre-release kit. I think I have to look again, but I think we'll go over the product sheet in a little bit here. Product configuration, though, this is the main set here that you can buy. Of course, there is the expansion slot with 31 cards in the expansion slot for classes and talents featured outside of the set, and for more support for existing heroes than any previous expansion slot ever. So they've bumped up the amount of cards in the expansion slot. They've also added in some all-time favorites with several key reprints, which means the Super Slam expansion slot truly has something for everyone. I'm curious what it means by several key reprints, but I think it'll be pretty cool. They already did it with Codex of Frailty. They did it with CNC. We've seen it with Final Spring Tunic. We know that this expansion slot is meant for those high card value reprints, so I am curious to see what we end up finding there. Notably, though, the difference here is that expansion slot cards are removed from the pack in a limited format and kept by the person who opens them, just like cold foils and legendaries. To do this, you remove the front card from the booster pack. Before adding the rest to your card pool, the removed card will be one of the following, which is a basic card, an expansion slot card, a legendary, a marvel, or a cold foil. That means that the good stuff is in the front of the pack now, as opposed to the back, which is very interesting. Non-basic cards removed this way cannot be included in a limited deck. And in Super Slam Limited, you only remove one card from the front of the pack instead of two cards from the pack. So pretty interesting. They have changed the way the limited format is done. Normally, you would take the two cards out of the back and then use the rest of them. But in this situation, you're removing the front card. So now all the good stuff is in the front of the pack, which is going to be nice for people to, who are trying to open up packs to at least remember. Then, of course, they do have the configuration for English here. It's a 15 card per pack. So 15 card pack as opposed to the 16 previously. I think that's just because they're removing one of the basic things and adding this in here. 24 packs per display, 4 displays per case. 276 card set with 1 Fabled, 5 Legendary, 42 Majestic, 40 Super Rares, 40 Rares, 134 Commons, 14 Basics, and 14 Marvels. So 14 Marvels, we obviously already know there's going to be 8 of them are going to be the heroes, which means that another 6 are some other thing. I'd imagine they're probably something alongside of the charms as well. So that's another 4, and then there's 2 more that are probably something else too. So it's designated for booster draft, sealed deck, and constructed formats, so you cannot do anything like crack, shuffle, play with these. But they look like they're actually, oddly enough, sticking right around the same price. So we're not getting a price increase this time around. UPP is about $99, so you're looking about $100 a box at UPP, which is really good. The Japanese configuration is, of course, smaller, just because they don't do a lot of drafting, so you're not going to be getting the same kind of cards. A lot of this is mainly just for constructed play. So 9 cards per pack, 24 packs per display, 4 displays per cases. And then, of course, MSRP is for 5,760 yen. So pretty cool. And notably, they don't contain a cracked bottle. And I don't believe they contain any special... they don't contain any special legendary in here, it looks like. But it does look like they actually have 1 less Marvel in that set. So there's 1 less Marvel in the Japanese set than there is in the main set, which is kind of interesting to see. Curious if that's just a typo or if that's just truly something that is only going to be in English boxes, or maybe it's just an English only product kind of deal. Then, of course, the Armory deck. So Armory deck Pleiades is due to be out. Seems like it's going to be a very, very fun one here to see. 60 card deck, hero, weapon, equipment, basic cards, all that jazz. $40, same deal. You'll be able to pick it up at your locals for pre-release. And then if we take a look over at the actual product page here, we will see that there's a big overview of all this stuff here. So obviously, this is the set composition. This is the rarity distribution. So 1 per 24 packs for a cold foil. So cold foils are back inside the set. instead of just in that treasure pack. So there's no treasure pack option there. You get a rainbow foil 1 per pack, rare or higher 2 per pack, commons 11 per pack, and then of course you get a basic or whatever that might be. So pretty cool stuff there. Then of course the pre-release kit here does say it comes with 1 kit in a carton, comes with 12 units. It comes with 8 Super Slam booster packs and 9 card combo packs, 5 cold foils and 4 basic cards. So I'd imagine 4 heroes, 5 cold foils, which means that there's probably like a random weapon in there that's a cold foil, if anything, and then also a set of armor probably for everyone here, which is interesting because it'd have to be generic armor, obviously. So that is pretty cool stuff. Let's see here. I don't know why there's a collector center thing already when there certainly should not be. There is not. Okay, getting crazy with it. Let's see here. Let's go back here and let's go talk a little bit about the product. Where is it here? I swat. There it is, the product sheet. This is what I want to check out, is the product sheet. So in the product sheet, we can see a little bit more here. Again, you know, this is a new era of deathmatch. This is gore like you've never seen before. I'm also curious whether or not they're going to bring back the UPF draft stuff for Deathmatch Arena like they did last time. I think that was, I'm not sure if that was a really great thing. I know there was not a lot of like publicity for it, so I'm not sure if there is going to be another thing for it, but it is cool to see that we're back here in the Deathmatch Arena. And then, of course, again, super rares are back. So just for this set, again, they're just easier to find than Majestics, but they're not anything really crazy. This is, again, that rarity distribution for both of those here. Goes a little bit over Lyeth Goldmane, the pre-release kit. You play at your whole game store at the comfort of your home. Again, I like these a lot because you're able to just take, 4 of them, bring them back to your house and play. The MSRP for $40, which is about what you pay for a pre-release. So that's not terrible. We pay $35 for our pre-releases out here, but I think this might be it might be bumped up to $40 with them being actual kits. I think what this does at the end of the day is this actually incentivizes stores to not try and upcharge. I know there were a few folks, people I've talked to and other things. I know Jacob from Geeks First had spoken about several times where his High Seas pre-release that he went to was $50, whereas the High Sea pre-releases that I went to were $35. And so I think it's really just a way to kind of keep people in line for like, this is what a pre-release should cost. I'm fine paying another $5 if this comes with like another cool like goodies and stuff. And notably, it's you're not getting these packs from the same box, which is also pretty cool because instead of it being, okay, cool, you are opening up 8 packs. The person next to you is opening up 8 packs, and the person across from you is opening up 8 packs. If the person to your right opens up a Marvel, you're not getting one in yours, which feels bad. I believe in this situation here, you have a better opportunity to kind of have a more randomized set of cards as opposed to it being this is what's distributed in the set. So pretty cool there. There's Pallades, of course, her armory deck. She's looking awesome. I am really curious to see how she plays. Not going to lie, I've always enjoyed like looking towards a more aura-focused Guardian. So I'm curious what her suspense concept is for this and why she's a musician over all things. But going to be pretty cool. Curious to see here 4 different pre-release celebration promos. So you can get any one of these here with your release, going to a pre-release there. And then, 2 display variants. So again, you can have Tough Nut versus Lyeth or Pallades versus KO. So different art boxes, which seem to work pretty well for High Seas. So it's kind of cool to see here. And then this is kind of the overall stuff here. You are seeing it in Japanese, in French, and in English for the booster boxes. And then the pre-release kits are all here. The armory decks are all set up here. And then Tough Nut, and that's it. So effectively, that is pretty much everything for Super Slam. This is what we know so far. So what we're looking to get more information for is the tokens that are made through here. We already know what Might and Vigor do. What we don't know is what confidence or toughness do. Confidence, I'd almost be curious if that's intellect focused, or toughness, which is defensive focused. That way, it's like resources, health, or resources, attack damage, or maybe it's even health, right? It could be like, destroy this, gain health at the beginning of your turn or something, which would be kind of cool for like a toughness aspect of something. But yeah, I'm very curious to see what's going to be. It's again very it seems out of left field compared to the previous set of high seas, which was very, lore thematic to pirates and necromancers and all this other stuff. But to know we're going back to the deathmatch arena, brutes are getting more support, guardians are getting more support. This will also notably be the set that comes out after the supplementary set of Mastery Pack Guardian, which is in August. So it is very cool to see that Guardians are going to be getting a lot of support in this realm. Brutes are going to be getting a lot of new things as well, but also notably 2 new talents, Revered and Reviled. I'm very curious to see how those amp up the way you play these heroes, whether or not it's still better just to play old KO, or if it's better to play Reviled KO in this front, or if it's better to play Pallades or Victor Goldmane, right? Like the original there. So anyway, that's it for me. Let me know what you guys think about Super Slam. I think this is a pretty interesting thing. I really do enjoy this kind of like wrestling thematic stuff happening with this. And I really do feel like it is, I don't know, it's a nice little break. And I do feel like they're in sets like this, especially like when you consider something like Everfest, right? Sets like this do tend to contain cards that are just like, initially people are going to go, I'm going to skip this set. But then 3 years down the line, you're going to be going, why didn't I pick up anything from SummerSlam? I need all these cards for my deck because this is like, these are crazy good cards. So I'm very curious to see how the new talents work out. I'm curious to see what the confidence and toughness tokens are. And hopefully we'll learn more as the day goes on. Again, card previews do start at September 2nd, which is in just a couple of months, actually. So we should see some new stuff in a couple of months. But for right now, enjoy the high seas. Enjoy everything through there. Go ahead and get your product out. Get your, get all your gravy bones stuff all taken care of. And then we'll see everybody when Super Slam happens closer to September. So thank you all so much for watching. Again, let me know in the comments what you feel about Super Slam. And if you enjoyed today's video, make sure to give it a like, subscribe if you have not already, and continue to have fun in the flesh and blood. And we'll see all you in the Super Slam ring.